G'day viewers, it's Chris Blood here. I just wanted to share with you another dream, or actually I'll share a couple of dream visions I've had recently that involve Vladimir Putin and the Russia-Ukraine war slash invasion slash crisis slash Putin's gambit. It's ridiculous the amount of media spin there is out there on what's happening over there, which is incredibly tragic at the moment. But leading up to this conflict, actually, the recent conflict actually starting, where there was a lot of posturing and stuff going on, and media reports, about what was happening, and the suggestion that there was a lot of bluffing. I sort of started to think along the lines of what Putin was thinking and what sort of man he is, what he's like. And I've read a lot of Russian authors, people like Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, guys like that, and I like to think that I, understand the kind of Russian mind, the psyche, and the kind of espionage personality. I think I understand that. And I think I can see the world from that point of view. And I prayed about it and wanted to sort of see if I could catch the mind of Vladimir Putin, and that God would give me some sort of insight into his personality and what he was thinking. And surprisingly enough, I did have a dream vision that involved meeting this person. So in the dream that I had, there was two actually that I had that involved the same person, and I'll share both of them. So the first one that I had, I was in a room, and there was a person outside of the room, but the person outside of the room had blood around their mouth, and there was a lot of blood on the floor near this person. It's quite graphic and shocking, sort of dream, I suppose. Sort of reminded me of the personality of a vampire, I suppose you could say. Like this person was a vampire, and I've read stories about Vlad the Impaler, who's a historical figure that used to impale his enemies on spikes and put them outside of his castle as a kind of a warning to other people. He had a bloodlust, sort of thing for killing people. And bloodthirsty was the word that came to mind. And if you look up the word bloodthirsty, it kind of means a person who's inclined to use violence and brutality. He doesn't mind violence, brutality, and killing of people to achieve an objective. So quite shocking. But then the scene changed, and as this person that I saw outside the room entered the room, it was as though I was meeting the devil himself. That's what it was like. I was meeting the devil himself, and but it wasn't as horrifying as that, because I think I've prayed about this before to God, to say that my ability to tolerate graphic, horrifying reality is limited. So I've prayed to God and said that if you give me a dream vision about something and it involves something that's horrifying and graphic, please kind of do something so that it isn't unbearably horrifying and graphic, so not just kind of wake up absolutely terrified with my heart beating and like a super nightmare, So that happened. I think God did do that in this instance. What I saw was like a cartoon-like depiction of the devil. And I don't know, if you've ever read widely enough, you may have come across something a book that was written a long time ago by a Christian monk, I believe. It's actually called The Devil's Bible. Who would think there was such a thing out there? But it does exist, apparently. The Devil's Bible was written by a monk, apparently, and he actually includes a depiction, a drawing of the devil in this book, The Devil's Bible. And if you look it up, you'll find it. You'll actually find the illustration that he put in this text, and that kind of image of the devil that was drawn in that book. That's kind of the cartoon image that I saw. I saw that cartoon-like image of this person. So instantly I knew that this was a representation of the personification of the devil himself. And if you know anything about, this kind of personality that's depicted of the devil, or, the stuff that's out there about what this personality is like, it's that the personality is excessively proud. Lucifer, or Satan, is apparently the demon of pride. He stands at the top of the list of kind of demonic entities, but pride is one of his big things. Obviously, it goes without saying that he wants to destroy humanity. He wants to reap the souls of human beings. It's kind of his role in God's plan, you could say. So that's what I saw, and it related to the person of Vladimir Putin. I knew that. I knew that this person I was seeing was what I saw in this dream vision was a representation of the personality, the mind of Putin. So bloodthirsty, like the devil, So, having said that's kind of like how he's going to that's going to be his method of operating, his modus operandi, and if you know what the devil is like, you know that he's for one thing the father of lies. He's a compulsive liar. Everything he says is lies, which fits perfectly with the espionage personality, the spy. Everything's a deception. Everything's a lie. That's how he operates. Lies, just lie through his back teeth. I know these kind of people. I've met these kind of people in my life. The compulsive liars, the people that can lie through their back teeth. They kind of boast with lies. The other day, I saw a crocodile. It was 100 feet long. Really, like, that's just unbelievable. Because you might have seen one that was 10 feet long, but they've seen one that's 100 feet long. It's impossible and it's a lie, but that's kind of how they operate. They operate through lies, one-upmanship, pride, this kind of thing. You can't beat them because they'll just beat you with a lie, sort of thing. So that's one aspect of the personality, a liar. The other aspect is sheer brutality. Willing to just do things that are going to kill people, cripple people, maim people, without caring, because that's more or less their objective anyhow, is to do that. To destroy humanity. That's the objective of the devil, and those through whom his spirit operates of the same mind. Yeah, so horrifying. So when people are looking at what's going on now in Ukraine and trying to understand what's going on and why it's going on, they're kind of missing the point. Why hasn't Russia swept into the Ukraine and knocked it over like a house of cards, and seized control of it? Because that's not really the objective of the devil. That's not what the devil wants. He doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to sweep in there and take over control. That's kind of boring. He wants to, unfortunately, kill a lot of people, kill a lot of humanity, reap their souls, reap the blood. That's what he wants. So when you think like that, it completely changes the picture, doesn't it? It's not going to be a quick war. He's not going to knock it over like a house of cards. He's going to invite money from the West to pour in lethal aid, which translates into more life, more death, more blood. It's just fueling. It's a conflagration of bloodshed. It's totally the work of the devil. Dare I use a cliche like that? It's totally the work of the devil. It's just about death and bloodshed. And governments around the world are totally playing into the hands of that. Oh, it's great. Let's send over lethal aid to help them kill each other, to kill more people, whether it's Russians or Ukrainians. It's just killing more people. That's what this is happening. But what this is doing, this strategy that the world has adopted, give them more weapons, give them a greater ability to kill each other. Make it that it'll be a protracted campaign and that there'll be a lot of people killed. You know, if I was the devil, I'd be thinking, this plan is working perfectly. So we've got to pull back from that and say, okay, we're dealing with the devil here. And say, how do we overcome the devil? Well, it's the opposite of what's being done at the moment. It's love. It's peace. You think, well, how's that achievable? Well, you've got to pull the plug on it. You've got to be prepared to de-escalate. Sure, Putin's the aggressor, and sure, the Ukrainians don't want the Russians to come in and take control and become the government. But I think really they're facing an inevitable situation. Then they're really, realistically, not going to win against Russia. It can be prolonged, sure, but I think it's inevitable. Wouldn't you agree? It's inevitable that a superpower like Russia is going to eventually get what they want. They're eventually going to take over Ukraine and replace the government, and it's going to become Russian-controlled, a part of Russia again. That, to me, is inevitable. So why prolong it with death and destruction? What do you achieve from that? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You're playing into the devil's hands. The King, Jesus, the God of peace, would say, look, put down the guns. Stop killing each other. You know, if Putin wants to seize control of the government of Ukraine, well, okay, to some extent I'm saying let him. Because there won't be bloodshed if you do that. If you let him do that, you've pulled his plug. You've pulled the devil's plug. There's no more blood. There's no more death. There's no more dying. There's no more destruction. Sure, he suddenly you're under the control of what Ukrainians believe would be a foreign power, but isn't that better than dying? Isn't that better than the death of a lot of people on both sides for a result that ultimately is inevitable? See, the rationale at the moment is just not, it's inhuman. It's insane. It plays into the devil's hands. Okay, so having said that, the other vision or dream that I had was a bit more shocking, and it ties into, as if that wasn't shocking enough, the first one, and it ties into this vision of this lady who was blind. Her name's Baba Wenger. I'm not sure if I've got the pronunciation correctly, but she's renowned as a mystic and a prophet, and she's got an incredibly high accuracy rate with her prophecies and predictions of something around 80%. So if she predicts something, there's an 80% chance that it'll come true. So that's quite compelling, you know, even if you don't believe in this sort of stuff, visions or prophecy, prediction, whatever, you have to admit that's a pretty high score, you know, for being able to work out what's going to happen ahead of time. She has an incredibly high score. And one of her prophecies or predictions is that Russia will be unstoppable. They will reach a point in history where their regime will be unstoppable. It'll just steamroll over everything, the West, everything. And that one day Russia or its regime would rule the world, like a new world order, a Russian, probably Russian Chinese, whatever, a new world order would prevail. That's just what Barbara Wenger thinks, this visionary or prophet. That's not necessarily what's going to happen. According to her track record, there's an 80% chance that it'll happen based on her prophecy. Still give us a 20% window there, which is hope. But in any case, that's just kind of a bit of backstory for you about, my thoughts about where the world is heading. But this second dream vision that I had, once again, involves Putin. And because I know, probably know, well, maybe I haven't said, but you could probably work out that I work in a hotel. I'm a night manager in a hotel in Sydney, Australia. In any case, in my dream, I saw the hotel where I work was completely under the control of Russian troops. Russian troops in Australia occupying my hotel. Shocking. I was shocked. I looked and I saw all these personnel dressed in Russian military fatigues, or whatever you call it, like their battle dress with the helmets and everything, the camo stuff. But they were Russians. I knew they were Russian soldiers. And I was shocked. Like, what? What's happened, And I also saw Vladimir Putin. I recognised his face. He walked into the hotel and went to the elevator. What? Yes, Putin in my hotel, walking in and going to the elevator. But he was surprisingly casually dressed, though. He wasn't in a suit. He was casually dressed. I don't know, that's probably a bit out of character for him, but I don't know his character when he's not working. Maybe he does dress casual when he's not working. But yeah, he walked in, casual dressed, went to the elevator, and there was all these Russian troops there. My goodness. So this dream vision to me was like we'd been invaded. Australia had been invaded by Russia, and he had now taken over. So you would have to backstep and say, hang on, we're a bit of an outpost, I'd have to say, in the world scheme of things. Australia, we're way down south. They call us down under, and for a good reason, because of where we're geographically located. We're, down the bottom of the world, away from Europe and America and places like that, So we're kind of one of the last places you'd go to if you were waging a war and it started in Europe. You'd probably take on America, but then you mightn't bother so much with Australia because we're small fry in the scheme of things. But if you've gotten to the point where you're invading and have invaded and have taken over Australia, I think by that point you've probably taken over most of the rest of the world. We're allied with Britain and America. They're our allies, so they would come to our support. But if their defence forces have been destroyed, decimated, they've been overrun, then there'd be nothing to stop a Russian-Chinese invasion of Australia, And I would hazard to guess that it would be one of the last frontiers of a world war. You would end up here last, sort of thing. So if Putin's walking into the hotel with all his troops here, in my vision, to me that says he's overrun the world. He's created a Russian-Chinese empire in our lifetime. God help us and pray that something like this doesn't happen. But if it's not going to happen, we've got to really change our way of thinking drastically. We can't be playing into the devil's hands. The devil is the prince of the world. You should know that from reading the Bible or knowing this stuff, this theological stuff, you could say, relating to God and the Bible, or maybe it's just biblical knowledge, you could say. That the devil is the prince of the world. Jesus, God, is the king of the universe, including the world, but the devil is fairly and squarely made the prince of the world, the ruling power in this realm, in this sphere of existence. Like the governor of a province of Rome or something, what he says goes in his jurisdiction to a large extent, unless you appeal beyond his jurisdiction to God. That's how you beat the devil, by appeal through prayer to a higher power, which is God. So that's how you beat him, the power of prayer. But also through the King of Peace, You align yourself with the King of Peace. But Jesus is not saying pick up a gun. He fairly and squarely says, to Peter in the Garden of Gethsemane, when Judas and a Roman guard turn up, and Judas betrays Jesus into the hands of the Romans by doing it with a kiss. That's when Peter, the Apostle Peter, draws his sword and cuts off the ear of one of the servants or one of the Roman guardsmen. And Jesus says, no, stop. For he who draws the sword will die by the sword. That's what Jesus says. He who draws the sword will die by the sword. So that clearly is a message from Jesus to say, look, don't use arms. Don't go to battle against people. The Old Testament commandments say, "Thou shalt not kill." It's one of the Old Testament commandments, and Jesus is saying, if you draw a sword, you'll die by the sword. So the same would apply with a gun. If you pick up a gun and shoot somebody with it, you'll be killed. You've signed your own death sentence. So, we cannot love our brother and sister, we cannot love our neighbour if we're holding a gun or we're shooting at them. That's not going to work. Even if you're prepared to do that, you've shown the intention of hostility. You invite hostility upon yourself. So, although it may seem to some people, as a cowardly move, it's in fact not. It's the boldest, the bravest move to say, I'm not going to pick up a gun. I'm not going to go to war against my neighbour. I'm going to love my neighbour. I'm going to trust God. Sure, we've got a devil in control of things, but that's also kind of ordained under God's plan, that the devil would be the prince of the world. It is his plan. It's his plan. So we've got to get in line with that, and we've got to say, let's not play into the devil's plan too much here. Let's go down God's path of love and peace. It takes strength. It takes a lot more strength than it does to pick up a gun. To say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to turn the other cheek. So I hope this finds you in a good state of mind, and I certainly hope and pray that we can collectively change our hearts, and we can reverse the course of this war, this destructive bloodshed. It needs to end, and the only way we're going to do it is by loving people, not by shooting at them. God bless. Thanks, guys.